Welcome President Toni Preckwinkle to the Village of Broadview, and I want to say thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to have this discussion with us tonight. It's about 6:59, so we'll start promptly at 7 o'clock. So I just wanted everybody to know that I'm on the line. President Preckwinkle is on the line as well, and we'll get started in about maybe 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, it is now 7 o'clock. I want to respect everybody's time this evening because we actually have a regular board meeting right after this at 7:30. So the president's office have confirmed with me that she's not going to be long, but I do want to say thank you for participating in our community forum, this town hall, to give us some community updates on an executive level. We do have Village Trustee John Tierney on the line. Our village clerk is on the line, and maybe some of the other trustees will chime in as we go through this conversation before we end the call. I also want to say thank you, President Preckwinkle, for providing and making sure that the Village of Broadview has CDBG funding. Over the last 4 years, we received probably close to almost a half a million dollars in funding to repair some of our streets and roads and alleys. So we appreciate that. We've also received almost $600,000 in COVID funding, and that was a big deal to us because none of us knew what to expect during this pandemic. It did offset some costs for us in the Village of Broadview, so we thank you for making sure that the Village of Broadview was not left behind when those federal dollars came through the county. But tonight, I would like you to talk a little bit about, what's going on with the county and what's taking place on the executive level, and if you can give us some COVID vaccination updates, that would be great, because I know a lot of the seniors are calling me saying that they can't get an appointment, through the online or the phone system. So if you can give us some high level input on what that looked like for the Village of Broadview, that would be great. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Madam President.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Thompson, and good evening to you and to the Board of Trustees. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit about what the county's been up to. First of all, I want to let you know that we passed a balanced budget at the end of last year. Did not raise taxes. I know particularly property taxes are a challenge in some of our western suburban communities. We have a balanced budget, and we made a $100 million investment in equity. So we invested in public transit. We invested in our health and hospital system, particularly contact tracing and vaccination programming. We made some additional investments in our Bureau of Economic Development to support small businesses and gig workers, independent contractors. And we also made additional investments in criminal justice reform. So in the midst of the pandemic, we were able to balance the budget and have, for the first time, an equity fund in Cook County. I know that your community residents are interested in where we are with vaccinations. And let me just say, we had 4 challenges as we tried to deal with the pandemic. The first was developing the vaccine, and we invested a lot of resources in our pharmaceutical companies, and as a result, we now have 2 vaccines that are available and a couple more that hopefully will shortly be available, and that's been great. Unfortunately, we didn't make proper plans for production of the vaccine once it was developed, and so that's been a challenge not here in this country but just all around the world. Insufficient supply of vaccine. On Martin Luther King's birthday, I was part of a phone call with the folks in the Biden administration who are responsible for the vaccination program at the federal level. And they had hoped to come into office and look at the plan that the Trump team had prepared for distribution and tweak it, maybe reallocate resources to address our present challenges, whatever. And basically, they said there was no plan at the federal level for distribution. So not only do we have a challenge with production of the vaccine, we have a challenge around distribution. And, we also have a challenge because we haven't done the hard work of persuading our residents that everyone should be vaccinated. So we've got some communication issues. And we haven't put the resources either into continuing to test people. Testing should be free. Some of the research teams have developed testing that is saliva-based rather than having a swab stuck up your nose. And, we really need to invest in that so that whenever anybody feels that they're a little ill and feels like they might have the virus, they can promptly test themselves and know whether they need to quarantine and perhaps seek medical care. So we've got we did one thing right. We got the vaccine developed, but we didn't put enough energy and thought into production issues and how we were going to support the pharmaceutical companies that develop these vaccines. We didn't have a distribution plan. We hadn't done enough work around communication of how important the vaccine is. And we haven't invested in sufficiently in continuing to test people. So this is a multifaceted challenge the government at every level is facing. We have 2 mass vaccination sites, as well as our hospital, Stroger, our clinic, Provident, and 6 community-based clinics in the suburbs and 7 community-based clinics in the city, 13 clinics total. We have a mass vaccination site at Tinley Park Convention Center and one in Triton Community College in River Grove, which I think is close to our residents in your community. So we've got some real challenges. We hope and pray that we can continue to work with you, and I want to thank you for the good work that you've done in helping us address the pandemic across the county. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, and I ask people to be patient, continue to wear their masks, continue to wash their hands, continue to maintain their physical distance, because it's going to be months before we can vaccinate everybody and before we can mitigate the spread of the disease. Dr. Fauci has said that we need to have 70% of the population vaccinated before we can really bring the pandemic under control. And that's more than 220 million people. And we're a long way from that in this country. So I ask you to be patient, to wear your mask, to wash your hands, and keep your physical distance. There are 2 ways in which you can find out information about vaccine availability. One is on the web, vaccine.cookcountyil.gov. That's vaccine.cookcountyil.gov. And the other is a phone number, 833-303-1988. I think that's 833-303-1988. And I encourage you to use that phone line. I know that many of our seniors either don't have access to the internet or aren't computer savvy, and so we have a phone line available. We had some challenges initially because we were getting 30,000 calls a minute, and we just didn't have the capacity for that. But we've added a considerable number of folks to our call center and supplemented that call center with an off-site call center as well. So I think we've got that under control. You need to check with us to make an appointment for the vaccine. You can't just walk into a center. And we're struggling with the vaccine availability. So it's really important that you make that phone call or go online and put in all your information so that we can get back to you as soon as vaccine is available for the priority group that you are in. And presently, the priority groups are healthcare workers. God bless them. We got to be sure that they're vaccinated. Residents of long-term care facilities, that's nursing homes. Essential workers, so people in our grocery stores and pharmacies who have kept us all well and healthy through the pandemic. Seniors, people 65 and over. That's the present pool of people who are available for shots. So if you're not in that category, I ask you again to be patient. There will be vaccine later in the spring and the summer. Again, continue to wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. So I also want to point out to you that your mayor talked about community development block grant money. March 13th is the deadline for submission of community development block grant requests. And March 13th is also the deadline for Invest in Cook. Those are infrastructure investments, roads and bridges, bike trails, public transit, waiting shelters and facilities. So I encourage you, as you've gotten support from the county in the past in these arenas, to apply again this year. I'm grateful again, Mayor Thompson, for allowing me to be with you for a few minutes prior to your regular meeting tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Madam President. It's always a pleasure when you can always come to the Village of Broadview, although it is virtual, but you're more than welcome to come visit us to give us county level updates as often as you want to. We've been very proactive in the Village of Broadview, making sure that the community is informed as it relates to the COVID response and how we respond and how we partner with the county and the state to make sure that our community is safe, like the messaging with the wash your hands, wear your face mask, social distancing. So we make sure that we make the community aware of all of those protocols moving forward. We will be applying for both of the CBDG funding as well as Invest and Cook because it is a direct impact to our infrastructure here in the Village of Broadview. The only thing that I think that that comes up often is how we look at flood control. And so it would be great, and I don't know what this look like now because we are in a pandemic or in the future, but I know that at the federal level, they're looking at an infrastructure bill. So hopefully we can get some federal funding to offset some of the, to provide resources to homeowners that, may have flooding, to put a flood control program in place. So I'll be looking forward for that and be following that bill as well to see how it can impact the Village of Broadview, especially with our streets, sidewalks, and alleys and some of the bridges that we have here in town. So we thank you for
Well, thank you. We hope that there'll be an infrastructure bill in Washington. I know that President Biden has spoken previously of the importance of infrastructure and trying to get a measure through the Congress, which hasn't been done for a number of years. So I join you in being committed to working to try to ensure that the Congress takes that important step.
Well, I don't know if we had any. Go ahead, Madam President.
No, that's all right. I said I'd be happy to answer any other questions that folks might have.
So I didn't see any comments or questions in the chat box. Mr. Clerk, did you see any?
No, I didn't, Madam President. I'm monitoring and saw none.
Okay, finally, Madam President, I do have, so with the recent snowfall that we got these last couple of days, and I guess we anticipating on some future snow coming up coming up on Thursday. Do you know, so I was asked this question yesterday, will there be any emergency funding available if the snow melt like at a rapid speed? I don't anticipate that because of the temperature of the weather, but you never know.
All right, Al Kindle, who's on the line with me and who was good enough to help arrange this phone call, is with the Department of Transportation and Highways. And I would ask him to be in touch with you about resources should there be flooding challenges subsequently for your community.
I appreciate that. And finally, I just want to say thank you for appointing me to the Cook County Land Bank. I'm very excited to be a part of that process. So no questions, no comments. So I guess we can let you go and enjoy the rest of your
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you for being willing to serve on the Land Bank Authority.
It's my pleasure. Have a good evening and be safe.
All right. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that's conclude our town hall with Madam President Toni Preckwinkle with the Cook County. We're going to recess now until it's time for our regular board meeting in 15 minutes at 7:30. Our regular board meeting will begin. So if you want to tune into that, you're more than welcome to. It will be on social media as well as the village website for your viewing. Thank you for participating, for all of the attendees that took some time out of their evening to participate in tonight's evening town hall. If you have any questions that you did not think of to get asked, you can always reach out to my office and I'll make sure that we reach out to the president's office to get your questions addressed. Thank you and have a good night.